probably the most fitting that music's ever been this time.
Pretty good. I have a question for you.
Oh, okay. I was going to go, but go ahead.
You can go too, but this is serious.
No, it's not.
No, man. Do you ever struggle with commitment?
Yeah. No, why?
Well, the clients called you out.
On what?
Because you didn't, like, we had a deal on the last podcast about the mustaches.
I have a mustache.
Yeah, but they were calling you out. They were like, he buzz cut his beard. He didn't go, you went skin. I was like, oh, I went skin. And they were like, yeah, Todd did a buzz cut. And I was like,
Did we say skin?
what?
Did we say it?
I don't know. It had to be said.
Did we say it?
We didn't say it.
Okay. Well, I did what I said I was going to do then. How do you find yourself with a mustache? What do you think?
It's been on you the whole time. Didn't even start it on the both of us. Just
how do you find yourself with a mustache? What do you think?
I personally, I think I went through a wave of emotions in shaving it. Like, oh no, but I also didn't just go straight to like everything gone. I worked from here out.
Oh, I didn't.
So I did give a gander of the goatee, like a very Jeff Smith approach, and it felt even creepier than mustache alone. So, I'm not a fan though. The main thing is that I came downstairs, and Finley was like, "Here, I'll put the camera on me for a second because this was the reaction." And I was like, "What?" She goes, "What happened to your face?" And I said, "Oh, do you think I'm ugly?" And for context, anyone who doesn't know, my daughter is 6, and so I'm talking about. I said, "What, do you think I'm ugly?" And she goes, "No, just you look better with a beard." So I feel the same, kid. I feel the same.
I was telling you, I was at Christmas Eve, and my buddy Christian's daughter, she looked at me and she said, "Well, why do you have a mustache?" And I said, "I made a deal with my buddy." She's like, "That was a bad deal."
That weird.
But you look, I'm gonna level with you. I'm gonna be nice for a minute. You look better than I thought you were gonna.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I think why, like, your mustache is a lot longer than mine.
Yeah. Well, I also think I look better than I thought I was gonna. If I'm being honest. If you had a mustache like alias, what do you think your alias would be?
Like, I have to have a name?
Yeah, what would it be? What would you call yourself with a mustache? I got mine. I'll tell you when I'm done. When you're done.
Oh. I need to think about it. So you go.
Diggy Woods.
Diggy Woods? I feel like I know that's not. Well, I don't know actually, but I'm going to assume that's not your street name or anything that you grew up on. But
that's a porn thing.
I know that, but
that would be Rusty Church if it was. It's the name of your first dog and.
Oh no! I've always heard middle name and the street you grew up on.
No, I've always heard the name of your first dog and then.
So name your first dog and where you were conceived.
That'd be a lot cooler if that was the story. I don't know the story, honestly. I don't know that I want to know the story.
Like, anyone knows that story about, like, why would you know where you were conceived?
If I have kids, I might tell them. They're like, "Listen, man, I'm gonna sit you down. You're gonna take this with you. This is gonna be a burden to you for the rest of your life."
Oh, see, I always thought that it was middle name and street you grew up on, which mine would be Daniel Fishing Creek, which I feel like.
What is the name of your first pet?
Casey. Daniel Casey?
No.
Wait. What was?
It'd be Casey Fishing Creek.
Casey Fishing Creek? No, Daniel Fishing Creek is better.
Rusty Church.
Rusty Church and Daniel Fishing Creek. I might be Daniel Fishing Creek with my mustache.
You look like a Dirk.
A Dirk?
You look like a.
We have a Dirk here. You can't use that name.
But you look like Dirk. You look like Dirk Diggler.
I don't know who that is.
You've never seen Boogie Nights?
No.
It's about 70s porn.
No, sir. See, so Daniel Fishing Creek. It's my porn name.
All right. You thinking about starting a career or?
No.
No, I don't think you have the flair for it, honestly.
No. But with this getup that you have on.
I look like a promoter.
Of what?
Porn. Like I look like, like I was trying to get into the game, but they're like, "No, man, we don't actually want you." And so I just got into production.
I'm looking at this and not at you because there's on screen and there's there's a difference. And
What's
here you look like I'm trying to think of what movie it was where Matthew McConaughey got like real, like just,
the dragon movie where he fought the dragons.
no, the one where he was like addicted to drugs and got
come
like
on,
real.
man. I thought you were gonna say about the one with where he fights.
I don't know it. I don't know that movie. But
There's one where he fights dragons,
but
and he does shave his head.
it's not that you look sick, but like maybe it's the glasses. I don't know what's going on.
I mean, the glasses are ridiculous. I don't look good.
I don't even know why we
It's
have
not
these
what I'm-
glasses on.
It's not what I'm going for. I look like shit. I get it.
Are they blue light blocking glasses? Like, why do you have them?
I got them at Cheats. I don't know why I have them.
So are they sunglasses? No, they're night driving glasses.
I just got them to be silly. I
I think those are night driving
They don't
glasses.
do anything for me. I just got them to be silly, man.
Drive with them at night. See what happens.
I'm not gonna do that.
You'll be able to drive faster.
I drive fast enough at night. I have blue eyes, so it allows me to see better at night. So I just,
Actually, I think blue eyes are more sensitive to light at night.
I just drive. It gives me more. I see taillights better.
Didn't work out for you during the day.
That wasn't my fault. According to the state of Virginia, it's my
I was
fault.
going to say, it's always your fault when it's a rear ending.
Well, according to me, it wasn't my fault. According to the state of Virginia, it was my fault. He was trying to turn on he was trying to make an illegal turn. The light was green. I did not expect a person to suddenly stop
Fair.
on a road where you're like it's like a 50-mile-per-hour road.
But I have told you countless times that the route that you take around that specific intersection is god awful out of the way, and you should have just made a right onto the on-ramp right there, and none of this. We wouldn't even be having this conversation.
I'm not going to argue that in front of these nice people, but you're right. Yeah.
Thank you.
So Casey Fishing Creek.
Daniel Fishing Creek. We're going to go Daniel Fishing Creek.
I don't like that. It's Casey. You look like a Casey right now.
Casey?
You do. You look
Trying
like
to
a
find out
guy.
Casey.
Let me
Casey
tell you.
Neistat,
You
I
look
mean-
like a guy that was in an emo band in his teens, right? And then decided that he can't let it go, and still hangs out at teenage emo parties. That's what you look like right now.
I don't know. There's a little delay, so I'll see if I could catch myself with a little bit more of a
But you do
close-up.
look like that. Because I know that you don't need those
The
glasses.
mustache should be thicker. When I was
Why did you trim it
taking
down?
care of it all, I trimmed it back a little bit.
Who called me out? I just want some names.
I honestly don't
I just want some names.
remember, but you can look. It was a very what time was that even at? It was a lighter morning this morning, and I will say, and I hope she listens to this because she walked in, you could tell she was like, I don't know, maybe a little nervous about it. Beth, she walked in and she was like, I saw it was just me and Carla on the schedule. I was like, yeah, real light morning, Beth, and just held eye contact a little longer. I was joking, but no, I mean 8 was pretty busy, but as expected, this little lull between Christmas and New Year's, the 6 a.m. crew fizzled out on Thursday. We'll see tomorrow.
I'm not happy about it.
Tomorrow.
I feel like I should ask you some questions.
Yeah, what was the question you were going to ask me? I interrupted it with asking about your commitment issues.
If you had a mustache alter ego, that's what I was going to ask you.
Oh, all right.
We already did it. We got to it. What?
Casey Daniel Fishing Creek. That'd be the full name, I guess.
You look like you have a solo acoustic emo album coming out like next week. That's what you look like.
Dashboard Professional.
God, I hate them. I've never liked them.
Are any of them still around? Well, I mean, that's one person, but... Oh, bless you.
Sorry.
So he was in a band called Further Seems Forever.
Oh, was he?
And then he left it to start that, and then he got like mainstream huge. Never went back, and then they replaced him with another singer, and they were way better than they ever were with him.
Yeah, he seems creepy to me, if I'm being honest.
I think that's the band that it was. Fairly certain.
He seems creepy to me. I'm not into it.
I don't know. I think the best, and I think we talked about this on here before, but I think the best real / like a little like was the one that was like, I think you sent it to me, and it was something about like are we surprised at all of like the accusations against these emo bands now when you go back and really listen to their lyrics? Now, the comedian was like obviously not using real lyrics, but they were like, yeah. If age is just a number, then what's your number? That was one of the. That was one of the.
Awful. Well, just like
that's not a real lyric, by the way. That was a comedian.
It's the.
I don't think it might be.
It's all like the. I don't know. You know how I feel about nice guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that emo is like a lot of nice guys, where they are kind of creepy because they don't know how to be forthcoming and getting female attention, and so they do weird shit. And so I don't like them. Not for me.
Maybe.
Not for me.
What kind of guys do it for you?
You know. Anyway. Let's talk about 2024, Chris.
Yeah.
Now you're excited.
I am.
Did you put up your calendar at home yet?
No, but I know where it's going now because that's like the thing's huge.
Yeah.
And telling your wife that we're putting up this massive calendar, but no, she was the one that was like.
I don't have to tell my wife that.
I know that. I'm gonna tell you something else about a funny line with that this morning, but also like, anyways, yeah, she was like, let's put it here, and so I was like, boom. So now, safe to say that the plans of this week were yesterday went different than anticipated. So planned on working on that a bit yesterday before Finley's simple stomach ache turned into a full-on appendectomy.
It's a turn of events.
So little turn of events. So
turn of events.
We were kind of like chuckling, funny, not funny, but like thinking about what day is it right now? Thursday. So Tuesday night, we got a Nintendo Switch for Christmas, and the three of us are downstairs on the couch, like playing Nintendo Switch, and we're like, Finn, would you rather like cut this off now, go upstairs and read a book before bed, or would you rather play more Mario Kart
come
before
on.
bed?
What's she gonna say?
The kid will surprise you. It would not be uncommon for her to be like book, but she was like Mario Kart because she was progressively getting better and better, which is cool. Then fast forward like not a full or more than 24 hours later, say it was probably like 27, 28 hours later, Jess and I are leaning over a hospital bed waiting for her to come out of her anesthesia, and we both just started kind of chuckling like, isn't it ridiculous that not this time, but a little earlier than this last night, we were on the couch playing Mario Kart. Everything is perfectly fine. Who would have thought we'd be coming out of freaking surgery like just over 24 hours later? But everything went perfect, so.
Are you going to answer the question I asked you?
Now I forget the question. Oh, where am I putting it?
Well, just have you got stuff for it?
Yes, thematically, but now placing dates is the big thing. So I don't remember I think we maybe talked about some of the themes on the last one. But figuring out dates of like when our big family vacation will be. I need to take all of the, not that I have to be here for every single one, but I think I will be, all of the bigger gym Saturday events, put those on at least like something to signify like, hey, there's something going on these. Yep. So that then we can look and go, what are the weekends that Finn's in full control of? What are going to be our Kevin's Rule weekends? Excuse me. When will be our big vacation? I'm on my dad right now to find out when we're locking in the fishing trip for, which I think is going to be Maine, which I freaking love. So yeah, it's just figuring out dates, but I know like themes that are going there. You have it done?
Oh no, I made a list today for Kevin's Rule. With like all the things, like a page and a half list of potential things.
Okay, I was gonna say brain dump, or like you like locked stuff in.
No, I mean, I did. Just thinking about things like I put down like cooking class, volunteering. What else did I put? Maybe a writing workshop. I don't know though. Here and this is, you're gonna get this because you know me, but like I get weird about shit like that.
What, writing workshops?
Like writing workshop. Like, so for example, I was on a date few weeks ago, and you know, the woman had seen my like Instagram, my photography and stuff like that. And she's like, "What did you teach yourself?" Or and I was like, "Yeah, pretty much like that, and YouTube." And she's like, I was like, I'm probably gonna sound like an asshole, but like I don't like to take classes for stuff like that, other than just like maybe basics of, here's the camera, like here's your, like how to exposure, f-stop, ISO, like all that kind of stuff, like the basics. Other than that, like I think it's one of those things, and I actually related it to why you stopped going to school for music. About like, I said, like you can look at something and say that is objectively a bad picture. You can look at it and say it's overexposed, the composition sucks, like it holds no emotion.
Principally, it's off.
It sucks, right? But then once you raise the level of quality above that, a lot of subjectivity comes into it.
Yep.
And I don't want someone to tell me what my style should be or what it looks like or anything like that. And granted, it might be the case that wouldn't even happen. But like I don't want that. And then so it's like I relate it to you, like why you can tell a story better than I can, but like why you stopped going to school for music, because how can you tell me what people are going to like? How can you say that? And I was like, well, I kind of feel the same way about photography and writing. And so like I put down writing course, but I'm like, I don't know if I would actually do it. I think it's more of like I'm going to continue to read a shit ton and write a shit ton, and that's probably what I'll do. But I put it down.
I think even look at like painting. It's like you could say principles, but at some point even principles can get broken. Like where you're saying like, shutter speed, f-stop, like all this stuff. Like, but have you ever seen paintings that sell for like insane amounts of money? And to me, it looks like someone literally threw paint on a canvas.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, are we on a hidden camera game? And it's like, no, like legit, like people pay insane amounts of money for that. And I think that's like a perfect example of like different people have unique tastes. Like,
yes. Yeah. I don't know. I think there are things that quality is an interesting term, but I think that there is, because you could lay that out in any, you could have a more quality feeling. Like you could sit there and look at the authenticity of something, and does that raise its quality? Does the way that it's composed raise its quality? Like you look at, we had an example of a client from our gym that is also going to another gym just to fill in some days. And he called me yesterday and said about how our experience is superior and has better quality than the experience at the other gym. And so there's a place where all of those circles cross, where it's not necessarily subjectivity and not necessarily objectivity, but there is quality. There are things that are that are better than other things. And so I think there is an element of that where it's like, I think sometimes, I don't know, and this might just be me being an asshole, but like those paintings that you're talking about, it's like, well, they're not good. They're not actually good. It's like you've been sold something to say that these things are good. And I think that people get duped, or people want to be perceived in a certain way, and so they make those kind of choices. And again, that's just me being an asshole. That might not necessarily be the case, but it's like, whereas you can look at something that is has all the other things that we might have talked about, like, the way that the person used color, the composition of the painting, how things are depicted, all of those things, which would raise the level of quality of that painting to actually make it a better painting. But then ascribing value is another thing, even though where it's like you can sit there and say, here, for example, I know we both know people that are better musicians than very famous musicians. Mm-hmm. But just because you have higher quality doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work out or it's going to be the best case. Or just like we both know trainers that are fantastic trainers that never make it because, well, they don't have business skills or whatever it might be. So you can't necessarily just narrow it down to that. But I think there is a realm where, and you can see it.
Well, I think that's just a range of skills and qualities. So they're very, very good at this aspect, but maybe they suck at the interpersonal
sure
aspect.
But
or
if
they
we're just
suck
looking at the
marketing
music,
aspect.
if we're just looking at the
We'll take it back to painting.
well, sure.
The person that it looks like paint splattered on the wall, maybe they, and I'm just like reaching at things here. Maybe they were the artist that invented that type of thing. Maybe there's a story to how
Sure.
they.
Well, that'd be the only way you can
You know
sell
what I mean?
it, right?
And you think about like, I'll tell you one that has a story to it that I see, and I'm like, that's cool. But I look at it and think like, okay, like I don't want to, but like I could do that. Anyone could do that. These ones where like they take a paint can, put a hole in it, and they hold it on a string. Have you seen this?
Oh, yeah.
And they let go, and it creates like the symmetrical shapes. But like those people, I would imagine, and if they're not, I think you're missing out, is like build a huge following on social media, make those pieces, people are mesmerized watching it, and then sell it.
Yeah.
And you can sell it for more money because you've built a huge following, so you have more of an audience that would potentially buy it. You have limited supply because you're one person, and you've developed a following, and like even though it's not like a story with like beginning, middle, end, like you have a story of like you're this person that documents like making these things. So instead of it just being walking into a store and seeing this crazy symmetrical
They want it from
shape, they saw it.
They bought the story.
You know what I mean? So
Well, I think that's definitely the case. I think there's also, and maybe for me,
wait, there was a marketing book that we read where they were talking about brewing beer.
oh, I don't know.
And they had said whatever it is, they talked about like our beer is like filtered this certain way or whatever. And the brewer is like, every beer is filtered that way. And they were like, but no one else tells you that.
Tells you that, yeah.
And then whenever they started saying that, it created, I forget what brand it was, I forget what book this was. I would love to give it
I think
credit.
it's probably Sam Adams.
But what do they say something about
They
that?
used to say about like how they follow the traditional German beer like
Maybe.
rules or whatever.
Yeah. But it's like whatever it was, like the marketing, the reason why it was shared in this marketing book is it went from like whatever it was, average or below average sales, to their sales blew up just by telling a little more of a story of how it's produced.
For sure. But I think, I don't know. Yeah. The story is huge because that's what if you're looking at something like art, that's what it's supposed to be, right? Like you're supposed to feel like you're in a story. You're supposed to feel like you're part of the story, or you're reminded of a story of yourself, or you have some kind of emotional connection to the thing. And I think that's where you look at like broad swath of things that are popular, and you can kind of, deduce from there, or induce, that would be that there is quality. But I think but
you could put story in anything. Like let's bring it back to like the trainer friend. They could create a better story and make a name for themselves.
Oh, for sure.
Like what's the story behind 531?
Oh, Jim Wendler was beat to shit from powerlifting, and he wasn't healthy anymore, and he knew that max effort training wasn't. He couldn't do it, and he knew that he could get strong without doing maximal effort training.
Right, and then people like. It's no longer just like numbers on a board. Hey, we're doing this today. Here's how we're going to figure out our percentages. And like, there's a story behind it.
Well, there's
and
also like Jim Wendler, because I used to read it at the time.
Yeah.
He did a 5.3, his training log on the Elite FTS for years before the book even came out.
Yeah.
And it just like,
and that's part of the story.
Made people curious, And so, but for sure.
Otherwise, but my point is like, otherwise it's just training. So like, whether it's art, whether it's the trainer that can't.
It might be slightly different though, because like if you look at a piece of art, you don't always need the backstory. Like you can look at something and be like, "Whoa,"
Yeah.
I don't think it's like the story is there if it's done well, And I think that's the difference. Whereas like, because I thought about it. I make fun of emo a lot.
Well, but here's a question for you then. Like,
ask me
why? This is more rhetorical, and maybe you'll have some amazing philosophical thing to say about it. But if that's the case, why are there? And I forget who it was, but there's. I'm sure there's more than one, but I forget which one. But there was one artist that like it's known that they didn't become famous until after their death. Mm-hmm. They made all of these paintings,
sure,
and it wasn't until after their death. So if it was just like this is good. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying that that's every example, but
Yeah.
I'm saying that there are examples where it's different. Like if you look at a piece of art, you can just look at it and say, whoa. And you don't need to know who did it. You don't need to know any of that kind of stuff. And then you can be kind of in reverse order, then interested in the person and the story. Whereas like when it comes to like training or something like that, I don't know that that's necessarily the same. It wouldn't necessarily work the same way unless you look at like, oh, I want to look like that guy, which is like, that's a scary path to start walking down, you know?
Riddle me this.
Yeah.
You see the best painting you've ever seen in your entire life.
Yep.
Okay? Or whatever you're into.
Sure.
I want to buy that. Then you find out it was made by Hitler.
I don't.
Doesn't change your perception of it?
Absolutely change it. I mean, no. It changes my perception. If I can sit there and say objectively, that is a great piece of art, I can separate those two feelings. I can. It doesn't mean that I'm going to want it anymore. But it's like, and it doesn't mean that I don't think Hitler is Satan incarnate. Like I don't, of course I believe that. But like, I can sit there and look at like, well, it's actually pretty fucking good, and still hold those feelings separate. So I can hold both those ideas. But like, I don't know. I think we want to see. I think for me, when it comes to things like that, I want to see a level of skill. Like that took work. I want to see, because like it doesn't like. No, I'm not going to do that. I'd have to talk about somebody that would be kind. I want to see a level of skill, and I want to see like authenticity and like emotion, and all of those things kind of come together. And that's like, we were cutting up deer meat on Christmas Eve, you know, and I just put on a radio station on Spotify, and some songs would come up, and I'd make fun of them, and Brett's dad was like, well, what's it? He's like, to me, those songs sound the same. Like it was like, there was a Turnpike Troubadours song that played, which, you know, I love Turnpike Troubadours. And then something else played. And he's like, that doesn't sound any different to me. Like, why, how is that different for you? And it's like, it's the skill. And then I think most importantly, especially in that world, is the authenticity, because, you know, maybe you don't know, but I mean, I'm sure you know, but a lot of people might not. Like Nashville is just a factory where it's like there's musician houses, they write the song, they pair up the song with the right artist, and blah blah blah, and all this kind of stuff. And I know that when I hear a Turnpike Troubadours song, Evan Felker sat down in his notepad and just bled his heart out. You know, and that's to me that's meaningful. Like that's more important to music than being sold some farce, because they know if they play this chord progression and they get to the hook this fast and they say these kind of lyrics, that it's going to catch and be popular. And to me, it's like, well, that's not really as artful. That's not as meaningful. You're being sold something that's trying to grab a hold of you. And sometimes it's fine and there's nothing wrong with it, but it is not the same.
But it's because you know the story.
Sure. For a song. But I mean, it doesn't always have to be the case.
Yeah.
And it's also, there's difference.
My point, and I don't mean to keep going back and just being like, but it's story, but it's like, I just think, when I say we, I don't mean you and I, but I just think like collectively, like human race doesn't realize like how much we are impacted by stories.
Well,
and how like the same exact information delivered with a different story creates a completely different feeling and outcome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just like it frames everything.
Well, we find the meaning before we find anything else. Like that's before we, like the space between recognition and like cognitive thought, like our brain already senses some level of meaning, whether it's danger, whether it's comfort, whether it's safety, like that is first. And then you extrapolate that to all other levels of meaning. It's like, so, and within that is the story. And so, I mean, I think that's one of the, God, I didn't know we would talk about shit like this, but
we
didn't know what we would talk about.
I'll say, yeah. We came in today. This is the last podcast of the year, and it was like, this is the last one that we're doing with like, what are we talking about? Let's just sit down and let it rip. So,
well, I mean, that level of like the materialistic thought that we have right now is very, in human terms, is very new. You know, like 500 years old, and
what?
so like based on scientific like materialism. It's not an old thought process, but for us that is like our almost, I don't want to say necessarily a priori, but it's like that is the main way with which we see the world through that lens, is like scientific materialism. But
what does that mean?
Oh, so like I can give you an example for like almost a reductionist type of way. So it's like you would sit there and say, let's say that you had some kind of high quality, maybe it feels even spiritual experience when you're out in the woods. Let's say that, right? And so like a scientific reductionist, like scientific materialist reductionist argument would be, oh, well, that's because you had, this chemical reaction in your brain and blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. And all this. And so whereas like before that, it would be like, when that was just a spiritual experience. You're just connected with the world. And so that is a far older way of thought than the newer way of thought. And so it's... I kind of lost my train of thought. Where was I going? What was I talking about?
You're saying about how the difference between like, that's an old thought versus new thoughts.
Yeah.
Story is like a frame of everything.
Well, because like that was how we existed, and you can't. I mean, in reality, you can't necessarily remove science from that either, because you have to make a choice about what you look at, right? And so that's a subjective thing, or it's driven by a market, or it's driven by a government, or it's driven by a group of people. So you can't necessarily separate that out either. And so I think we're much more primed to find that meaning and to connect to a story than we realize, whereas like we think we're these incredibly rational, like materialistic, not in like the like greedy materialistic, but like scientific materialism, like this is real, this is fake type of thing. Whereas like we don't actually have a really good grasp on that, and at the base level it's not actually how we perceive the world.
I didn't read it, but Sapolsky has a new book.
No, I didn't know that.
And it's about oh my God, what's the theory that like everything's already determined for us?
That's determinism.
Yeah, but I was thinking there was like a different term used for it, and like I don't believe in that until today. I meant to say this to you earlier, but when you lit that cigarette for the video, I was like, holy crap! Like this was all written, dude. So like we had the white elephant party, and we don't know who. But like $10 to $20, people. $10 to $20, that's the range. And someone threw like a $2 air freshener. Jim smells like cinnamon. Why would we need an air freshener? Because it was already determined that you were going to light that cigarette, and that this Jim was going to need to smell like cigarettes and cinnamon, not just cinnamon,
not just cigarettes
or cigarettes.
He kind of talked about that in his last book. He tries to refute that there's like. He tries to refute that there's free will.
That's what it is. Yes, yeah. That's the topic of his book.
There's no free will. He tries to refute that there's free will and that everything is kind of scientifically determined. I don't know.
Meh.
I don't buy that. I mean, there's mitigated free will, I think, is true. Whereas like you have a chance to make a choice, but what he's saying is like based on your environment and your genes and all this kind of stuff, you don't actually have it. And it's like I don't buy that, man. So I think that's a very smart man that is smarter than I am, that is in like rational thought is all there is. And I don't think that that's true. And he is very atheistic. And I think that drives him down that bias. Like I remember reading his book Behave and just being like, man, you're making some reaches there. And also like, you could tell that it was at some levels politicized. And so I was just like, he's a very, and I have no problem saying that, like, I don't lean right. I don't really lean left. I like things that make sense. And that's all I really care about politically. But you can tell that he's like leans left. Yeah. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. He's just a very atheistic, rational person that doesn't want to, accept the fact that they're I don't know. I'm gonna butcher that, so I'm gonna let it go. But yeah, I don't buy that either.
Yeah.
I don't buy it
until today.
Yeah, let's talk. Maybe we should talk about exercise instead of all the weird shit that goes through my head. All the
That
time.
is yes, and also we have topics already laid out for 2024, and we'll be coming at this from
I'll tell you what I've been doing
an intentional angle
lately. People like this though.
Yeah, but
I think that oftentimes.
I'll say this based on what we were just talking about. There's one thing I'd like to do to wrap this one up today, and you're gonna hate it, but I'm actually being dead serious. Is like, and it's really gonna wind up, at least for me, being like recently. But I think last podcast talked about like I only read so many books this year, but I'm like, what were the best books you read this year? But not yet. Go ahead, training. You were saying.
Oh, well, I've been playing around a lot, with just strength in awkward ways, and it's felt really good. Like I've been doing. You ever done shovel deadlifts? Like shovel RDLs?
I'm not sure.
You only put weight on one side of the bar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I've been doing stuff like that, and like I did. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you want to call them. I think some people call them windshield wiper chin-ups, but I don't know if that's the right word for them. Where you pull up to one side and down, and then pull up to the other side.
Something like that. Yeah.
I did those in an L sit, and like it's felt good just to use strength in awkward ways rather than just force. And I think that's an important thing to do. We're definitely doing stuff like that in Human Predator Pack Mule, but I think that, for the gym and stuff to have, after we've just spent the fall, just like bilateral force, like making changes and doing things and using strength in a different way to both build capacity, but also balance our bodies out as we get back into a more aerobic focused type of training.
Yeah. I saw you were doing one of my old, I don't know if I'd say favorite, but something that we used to program a lot for like assistance work in Strength Action, the rotational single leg RDLs with the sandbag. I like those.
Yeah.
I've been doing I tracked one run because I was just curious from I want to see if my heart rate is still acting real weird, and everything was gold. And I tracked 4.5 mile run, and it was just like heart rate stayed low, felt real good. So that's the only workout I've tracked in the last 3 weeks, and I don't plan on tracking any workouts until January. That's really the change I did the end of the year. I won't say the rest of the year, but the ending of the year here is just, and having a very loosely held plan. And by that, I mean, I know I'm going to do jiu-jitsu on these days, but I'm also open to crazy things can happen with family or whatever that like, maybe I'll be swapping a day or I'll miss a day. It's okay. And then just having I'm going to do some strength training on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm going to do some type of lower pull and upper push on Monday. And again, this won't be like I'm carrying this forward into the new year, but it's just how I've kind of gotten off of like this. I do these things like for the last, whatever it winds up being here, 4 weeks, 5 weeks of the year. So
yeah, it's been good to do. I've taken a similar kind of approach and break, partly because I wanted to figure out some new things. So we're not all kind of stuck in the same patterns. But also just because of, I think we talked about on the last podcast about how intense I've always been about like my learning and how I've been the same way about training. And I pushed myself really hard through the summer and then got sick twice this fall, which is like not normal for me. And then, so it's just been nice to be like, I know what qualities I need to maintain, and I'm going to do them in different ways so I can learn and experience, and also just kind of not put too much stress on myself in that region, because I will get dialed in and hyper focused and put too much, not too much. I don't know if you can say too much, but I need to take more breaks from my intensity. Mental intensity is something that I need to do more often. So
yeah, I think that's kind of what's led me to be like, the plan is nope. Todd's ripping off his glasses.
Well, no, it's starting to hurt my ears.
The whole idea behind like the plan is no plan or a very loose plan is even thinking about like I think 3 episodes ago, we did bus bench versus park bench workouts.
Right.
But we're talking about how like if we were to take that a step further, like if you're on like these are the exact things I'm going to do for the next 12 weeks. Like essentially, like you could argue that the gym is bus bench all year round because it's like it's determined you're coming in.
That's why the summer's not supposed to be like
yeah.
that.
But even still, like, but it still is like this is the schedule. This is, you know what I mean? Like versus like full on. I'm gonna train, but like think about like when Dan John and I've seen is it Jason McCarthy that owns Go Ruck? Yeah. They do these like I think he does the same thing like community days where like people in his community show up at his garage just like Dan John does at his, and different people will pick like, hey, you're picking, we're doing lower push today. What's the lower push you want to do? All right, you're picking, and then they all do it together, and it's a very like and I'm not saying like I think that's how we should train for any extended period of time. But I think even just playing around and approaching training like this for the last few weeks, I haven't done anything like this since 2015 when we started Strength Action, and probably even a little bit before that because I was I feel like I was doing stuff with training for Strong First events right before that. So this might be the first time I can really say like I'm on like true park bench workouts in what is that, 8 years?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's also a difference between us and our clients, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas like they have different things, like we can manage a schedule like that far differently because first of all, we have context, we have education, and we have habits. Like, geez, I have trained for 25 years, you know? And so it's like, it is ingrained in who I am. And where I think our people need structure more, and they can still come in and use something as a park bench workout and also based on people's schedules and when they're training and their built-in vacations and different things like that. Like, I think the structure is more important for other folks than it is for you and me. Yeah. Where like, that is all not to say that, like, I don't think that like, well, like this week is kind of just is a park bench kind of week for everyone, where it's like,
yes,
come in and do
which day do you want to repeat?
Which day do you want to work out? Like, you know, how do you want to do it? Like, all of those kind of things are true.
Although I definitely still guided people a good bit today because being only open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, folks are walking in and they're like, I want to do this. And I'm like, well, what'd you do yesterday?
Sure.
And so I pretty much talked almost everyone into doing endurance today. Because I'm like, and what do you plan on doing tomorrow is the second question. Because people are like, I want to do strength A, strength B, and resilience. I'm like, so you're just going to hammer strength 3 days in a row. Like, you're going to get way more out of it if you hammer strength on Wednesday, do endurance today, which you're going to get to move fast and use force with all of the like neural charge type stuff, and then hammer strength again on Friday. You'll get way more out of that.
So I took a different tack than you did. I guided people away from doing strength A and strength B back to back or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I've wanted people to, like, some people came in yesterday and did resilience, and then they wanted to do strength B today. And I was like, all right, go ahead. See how that feels.
Yeah.
See how that feels tomorrow and feels on Saturday. And sometimes people need to experience that shit, because I know what it's like to do that. And it's like, and it's like, maybe it'll break some of the like strength all the time type of shit, you know?
But it's also knowing like when and why you might do that, because to do resilience, I still wouldn't approach it this way, but to do resilience and then turn around and do, say, strength A, it's like you're coming into strength A with more fatigue, but then if you still push the intensity with strength A from like a hypertrophy standpoint, could be a good thing.
It depends on what you want.
Could be a good thing, but there would have to be some real thought going into that. There doesn't have to be. But
I was like, as long as I didn't let people do strength A and strength B back to back, but like if you did resilience yesterday and wanted to do strength A or vice versa, I was like, go ahead, see what it feels like. You know, and one person was like, wasn't getting deep enough on their squats, and I was like, I was like, hey man, can you get lower? And he said, yeah. He's like, well, I'm sore from yesterday. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, we either need to change the workout, or we need to change the weight that you have on your bar. And so he had to go down to do
You
it.
mean the
It's
movement or the weight on the bar?
no, the actual. I was like, then we
workout.
need to either do endurance or something else, or we need to get deeper. Like we need to change the weight. And so, and it's not going to be.
Might hate it more, but I think you could have also been like, we're not getting deep enough with our squats today. Like, let's go rear foot elevated or split squat, which is going to reduce intensity,
Well,
but
we
also
could've.
increase range.
But
Like,
I was more of a. I wanted people like. First of all, it's not going to kill you.
yeah,
Second of all, see what this feels like to do that kind of those workouts back to back to back, and that way you gain some more context of why we program things the way that we do, and also it's like, I don't know, at the point where a lot of our clients are like doing all of that strength training isn't going to get you to where you want to go, and it's just let people feel that, let people see it, you know.
yeah. I'm interested to see if there's any
Learning,
yeah.
and we'll see.
If there's an insight from that, or if people are like, yeah, I got sore. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. You said you want to ask me something.
No, just that. Like you talked last time about like you read less books this year, but your least favorite question is like, what books do you recommend? And you're like, for who? For what? Like, where are you? Like, but what were your favorite books that you read this year?
I mean,
However many you want to throw out. I'm not giving like a top 5.
I haven't read this year any new books that blew me away. So I mean, it's just my two favorite books.
Yeah.
East of Eden and Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Like I reread. I'm almost done with. I'll finish Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by the 1st. So I'll finish that this year. And East of Eden. I mean, they're always impactful for me. And so those are the only two that really come to mind this year. Like I said, I read like 26, 27, 28 books, something like that. It's just, I think that those books help if you're ready for them and you're paying attention, you just glean so much about yourself and then the human condition and your own self-awareness, because there's every part of every human being that is portrayed by the characters in East of Eden. And so if you're not paying attention, you won't see it. But I think even there are different levels of resolution. And so even at a worse level of resolution, let's say 10,000 feet, you would still glean insights. You could take it out to 30,000 feet and just get the thematics and not necessarily see like, oh, this is all representative. You could just read the story and get those. And then, Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance is just the way that he kind of takes the world apart, and how, I mean, there is a regular, more approachable aspect of it's almost like, and a lot of it is portrayed in simple sentences, simple punchy sentences of, realizations, self-awareness, just the human aspect of things. But then like the way that he takes apart different concepts, based on how like we've been educated or how we can think about things. And I think it's just always impactful. I'm not finding the best words to really say it right now, but it always has an impact on me in the way I think. And it causes me to think more deeply for a period of time. And like some of my best work comes out when I'm reading that book. So
You like clear thinking.
I liked it. Yeah. It didn't blow me away.
Yeah. Not a reread.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, I'm sure that I might look back at it for things, but and it's also one of those, I could reread that book next year and be in a different place mentally and be like, whoa, okay. Like I missed all this shit,
Yeah.
But it's just like anything else. That's why I don't say, hey, go read these books, because I don't know, making recommendations to people that aren't ready for certain books, like it's not helpful. It doesn't help anybody. I mean, I can sit there and tell you my favorite books, and if you know enough about me, you can extrapolate to yourself and see, how that might fit for you. But like, if you're just some person on the internet, you don't know me. Yeah. And so it's tough to do that. Like, I'll do it sometimes because like, I know Adam used to ask me every year. Adam Willis used to ask me every year, like what, so I would post a list, but like, I don't have anything to share this year. I really don't. So I don't know. What about you?
Favorite? I mean, did you read the blog I sent you? Remember you were like, share that with me.
I skimmed it. I have not read the whole thing in depth yet.
So Steve Magnus and Brad Stulberg, they wrote Peak together. They might have more together, but then Do Hard Things by Steve Magnus.
That pops up as a recommendation for me on Audible all the time.
And then The Practice of Groundedness by Stulberg. I tried to listen to The Practice of Groundedness because I think I saw Dan John recommend it. Other people that I value their opinion, say this book's amazing. And I tried to listen to it on Audible, like on runs and stuff. Man, and I would zone out. I could not engage with the material. And I don't know why. I know why. Then that blog popped up, the one that I shared with you. What was it called? It was like
Performance or something. I don't know.
It was like the case for performance, in defense of performance.
Yeah, something like that.
In defense of performance, I think. And I read that and I just found myself being like, yes, the whole time to it. And so it made me go, you know what? I want to revisit that book. And then it's not uncommon for us maybe once every other week to be out to eat somewhere near Barnes & Noble, and Finn loves to go there. Like, sure, let's go. And we walked in, and oftentimes I'll scan and be like, nothing jumps out at me. But this time, the book that I couldn't get into on Audible, something made me pick it up, and I was like, I'm going to get it. Listening to it, couldn't do it. Reading it, I tore through it in less than a week.
Books I've had books like that too.
And now I would say that's one of my, I think it also hit for certain things just for me and like the current season I'm in.
Yeah. Why'd you say it like that?
I don't know, just because I feel like I'm kind of making fun of people that talk like that.
Why are you
but
making fun of people that talk? Why are you making fun of people that talk like that?
Season? I don't know.
Why are you making fun of it, Chris?
Shut up, Todd. But there's really, really good stuff there. Like there was this line in there. Remember I wanted to name the gym when we were rebranding? I wanted to name the gym The Path. Remember that?
I do
or just
that.
Path.
Yeah.
Path. And one of the things he had in there is, and I might be flipping these, but the goal is the path, and the path is the goal.
Just to be clear, Chris is saying pass, but he has a list.
Yeah. Oh, that's like that Instagram post I saw of the kid. Oh no, I'm gonna forget it. It doesn't matter. It was gonna be a bad joke anyways, but it was hilarious.
I looked back through my Audible.
Yeah.
The Science of Storytelling by Will Storr is really good. I did really enjoy that. I listened to that twice. Outlive's a great book.
Yes, loved Outlive.
Outlive's good.
Built to Move by Kelly Starrett, another great book.
Yeah, I listened to Science of Storytelling twice. I think that's really good. I'll tell you what my least favorite of the year is. I can give you that.
I know.
Objectively.
I know it.
What is it?
Go ahead.
What is it?
Author's initials are ME.
Incorrect.
Oh, okay.
It's called The Game by Neil Strauss.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just like, and I know, I think he's trying to make a point, but it's like, he also did all of the things. And it was just like, dude, that whole pickup artist, like, scene culture thing, it's so gross, man. It was just so gross to eat. I had to stop. I was like, I sincerely try not to be judgmental, but like I found myself like, I hate these motherfuckers. Like I don't like them at all. And so I had to stop. I hated it.
I really liked that book this time. There's a ton of things from there that.
What book?
That hit.
Practice
of
Groundedness. What book did you think I was going to, ME? Oh, never mind. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I don't want to say it out loud. And then Steve Magnus's book, Do Hard Things, but it's not what you'd expect because it makes it sound to me this hardo. But it's like the hard things aren't always what you would expect. It's not this like could be. But
sometimes it's making sure you take the cup out of your car every time.
Yeah, the cup out of your car.
I don't know, like you leave shit in your car.
Oh yeah. So I would say like their books definitely hit. I liked Adam Grant's new book.
What's that one
Hidden
called?
Potential.
Oh, I've seen it. I haven't read it.
But then like there was ones that I took things that like the secrets of happy families. And it's just like each chapter is like a different, like, here's a story of where this came from. Here's what it is. Give it a try. And so that's where we took like the Finley gets a weekly allowance, and it's however many years old she is. That's how many dollars she gets per week. So she can do whatever she wants with the money. Buy drugs, you know, like you name it. Yeah. No, but like 6 years old.
So she has bought drugs? Or?
She has, yeah. What? 6 Percocet, but I don't know. I just said like the first time.
God, you're awful.
But
you're gonna get CPS called on you.
So decision making, $6 a week at 6 years old, she can. Although it's crazy, she's like, I'm trying to save $100, and she just keeps saving. We're like, I was not expecting this, but the stakes get a little higher for her as she gets a little bit older.
When she's 18, she's
getting $18
a week,
and it's not earned, but it can absolutely be taken away. And the premise behind that, as it's explained in the book, is loss aversion. Like you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose what you already have.
With inflation, that's not going to be very much money, brother.
Hey, that's fine.
You might have to bump that up. She's gonna be like $18, man. I can't buy shit with $18.
That's going to be her problem. But there was another one in here that jumped out because I was like, I didn't even think to look at.
It's only 12 years from now.
The Good Life, which is based on the Harvard study. I forget what the name of the study is, but it's like, I forget how many generations of people they followed, and then their family, like their extended families, about like what makes a good life. And basically the spoiler alert is that it's relationships. But the book is so much more than that, because it's like interviews of people at all stages of their life in the study, young and like struggling to like establish themselves, old and reflecting back on their lives. It's a beautiful book, but it's not just stories. Like it's called The Good Life. Yeah, it's really, really long, but it's worth it.
That doesn't bother me.
Those are probably my big. I'm sure I'll be like, oh, I forgot about this. But I think those would be my big ones.
Good. Didn't you say you read something like The Sensitive Art of Tickling?
Yeah.
Soft touch between the knees or something like that. What was it called? Behind the knees.
I forget the sub. It was something like that. Yeah. But a lot of people like pressure. Like some people go too hard. And
tickle hard?
Yeah. But then that, like, to some people that hurts. Some people like more pressure.
Well, you know, it's both it's pain. Tickling is pain. So
the author, there's the 5 love languages. There's the 5 tickle languages, because there's 5 different types.
Go ahead and list them, Chris.
I'm a guy that I should write things down more when I read books, but
you coward.
But
come up with something.
High pressure.
Okay.
Over the clothes or under the clothes.
Whoa.
Those are 2. Or no clothes, but that would technically be under the clothes.
I'm gonna stop putting you on the spot. You wanna know why? You're not super good at it. All right.
In public or like that behind closed doors.
Hit the button.